Hi, my name is Matt Kendricks. I'm the project lead for dSIPRouter. So today we're going to do a couple of different things, right? We want to be able to show how can we actually use the dSIPRouter API in order to obtain call detail records, also known as CDRs. So we have a Fusion PBX system connected to our dSIPRouter instance already. There's a video around how to do that. I will post that in the actual notes of this video. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's just go and poke around at our dSIPRouter instance here. So we have an endpoint group, and this one's called Fusion PBX. And the endpoint here is Fusion PBX dSIPRouter.net on 5080. So that means we're going over the external interface for Fusion PBX. So basically it's going to come in as if it's coming in on the carrier side. So it's going to look like an inbound call to Fusion PBX. And the signaling here is just SIP over UDP, the normal, and then RTP for the media. So no secure RTP in this case. All right, so that's what we're working with. If I look at the call detail records for this box, we have a couple of records here. I just hung up, so there was no call duration here, but we can probably make a couple calls and get it a little bit more, get some call duration here, some more valid data here. But for the most part here, we have some records, and our goal here is to use the API in order to obtain these records, right? Because a lot of times you have some type of system that you're pulling your CDRs from and into for doing billing type of activity. So we get asked this kind of often. It's like, how do I export this data? And there's a couple different ways, right? You could go right at the database and pull that data. But I think the safest way to do it and make sure you're collecting the right data is to use the API in order to do that. So that's what we're going to focus on right now. All right. So we're going to use Postman to help us a little bit. Postman, for those who don't know, is a pretty well-known tool for helping people, test their APIs. A lot of times people will do it like we do. We actually publish our API with examples inside of the Postman has kind of a network of APIs that are available. So you can go to Postman, search for them, and you can find our API there. So I'm on here now. I'm just going to walk you through the interface just in case you're not familiar with how Postman works. So in this case, I have a collection here called dSIPRouter, and I actually have a fork of it. So it works very much like GitHub. You can't make changes to the actual master, I guess you could say branch, without proper permissions. In this case, I'm acting like I don't have proper permissions. I could go in and actually work with the actual master instance of the dSIPRouter API. But for this example, I have a fork of it. This is what this is supposed to be a little fork here. So this is what this kind of represents here. You can see here I call the dSIPRouter API test. It is forked from dSIPRouter, right? Which is kind of, again, like the master branch of this API. Okay, so now there's a couple of things that you need to do. So one is that you need to set up an environment, and what environments are is a way for you to give state to your API. So what I mean by state is that I may have multiple development environments or multiple environments in general that I'm using this API. Maybe I have a test system, I may have a production system, and I may have a development system. And each one of these may have different variables that are needed to actually execute the API. In particular, the most important one is well, I guess two is one is the host name IP address of the dSIPRouter API, and then also the token that's used to be able to authenticate. So I'm going to click on environment here. I already have these two kind of showing up. I'm going to set the dSIPRouter address. So the address of this box is here. Okay. And actually, I want to do this. We're just going to do. Okay, I just pasted it slow here. We're just going to use the IP address here, because automatically the dSIPRouter API already puts in the port number and puts in the actual HTTP schema as well. And I need a token. So when you install dSIPRouter, it will provide you all the details for authenticating to the actual server itself. So you just need to find that information, or you can reset the API token as well. Well, here goes my token. I can probably make it a secret to make it like, that way you guys can't see it. I don't really care. We basically what we do is whenever we do these videos, we spin up boxes and then we kill the box, right? So if we're not using it, let's see here, change type, and it says change dSIPRouter token from secret to default. This will reveal the hidden values in this way. So change type. So I'm just gonna leave it as a default, but it's probably good practice to make it a secret. All right, so now that we have this environment variables set, and I think those are the only two that we really need. We need to save this, okay? And then we're gonna go back to our collection, right? And then we're gonna say over here that to use that environment that we just used. So I'm just gonna close that, close this. All right, so the thing I'm gonna do first is, in order to validate this is working, I'm gonna use the Camilio endpoint that we have. Okay, and if you can see here, as I stated before, the schema is already defined for you. This orange variable here represents the dSIP address that we just put into the development environment. And then you have colon 5000, and then you have the URI, the rest of the URI that points to the actual API itself. Now, if this works like it should, we should get stats back. So we'll see. Nope, it says unauthorized. So that means that our token is probably not correct. And I actually changed this a few different times, like I was messing around with this box. So let's go back to our environment here. Okay, go to that environment, and here goes the value that we set here. So let's go and reset that value. That way we know that we have a good value. So let's pop onto a terminal here. And what we're going to do is do dSIPRouter set credentials. And I don't, let's do -H here. All right. So if we want to set the token, we need to do a -AC. Okay. So what we're going to do is do set credentials AC. We're just going to take the token that we already had and we're going to reset it, right? Just to make sure we have the right token. All right. So you can see that. So cool. So let's go back over to our postman and see if that actually resolves our issue. If not, we'll go figure it out. We'll go figure out what the problem is. All right, so now I'm going to do this again. There it is. So let's see here. Pin this environment to the collection. Suggest environments maybe later. All right. So just to make sure you can see, these are all the values that was returned to us. But this is a good way to just validate that the API is operating the way it should. Okay, so now that's done. Now let's go ahead and go over to the CDR API, right, which is in here. And we're gonna actually use get, and this one's gonna be the API of the endpoint group. So we need to give it the input group ID, and then we can specify the type, and we'll say CSV, and then we're gonna say the date time filter, right? So basically, we can give it a particular date time frame, or we can just give it just a date, and it'll pull everything up to that date. I believe is what it does. So let's give it a shot here. Let's first of all figure out what endpoint group ID we need. So 61. So let's do 61. And then we're going to do CSV. And then we're going to specify that we want 2024. And we're going to say July. And I think what we want to do here is say we want everything from the 6th, which is when these records actually existed here. And we don't need the email portion of it unless we want to. So what these values here is, it kind of has it lays it out here in the description of it. How do we want the data? So that's the type, CSV or JSON. The datetime filter is basically the date in which we want this, and anything, I believe, anything from that particular date. And then we can have it, if we set it to true, it'll send the CDR to email addresses in the endpoint group configuration. Okay, so let's just give this a try first, and let's see what happens, right? So let's send this, and it looks like we got 2 records, right? So 166 here, 167 is the 2 records here. If we go back and look at our browser, 167, 166. So it looks like we got the records that we wanted, which is cool. So that's working like it should. Now, what you could do with this is that you can call this API from a script or from some application. So the good thing that I love, one of the cool things that I like about um, what I like about Postman is that, and if I can remember how here, is that it will allow you to like grab the actual like curl statement of this, and I can actually run it. So I think this is it right here. Yeah, here it goes. So I can actually grab uh, the curl version of this, right? And I can actually stick it in. Now, the authorization, I need to stick that in. But let's just try and run it. So this is again, I use Postman as a tool to quickly, easily do things. But what I want to do now is actually just go to a terminal, and uh, and we're gonna actually try and run this from the terminal. Okay. We are on my local machine, and I'm just going to paste the curl statement here. So this is the curl statement, and it's not going to work because obviously it is just it's trying to hide the actual uh, token that we use. So I'm just gonna do it just for giggles, so you can see that a couple of things. Number one, um, it didn't work because unauthorized. But the first thing is that Curls is complaining on the fact that the actual certificate subject name doesn't match. So we can do a couple of different things. Number one, I can just change the name, or I can look at curl because I always forget the command here is okay. It is minus K. All right. So let's do this. Let's do a minus K. All right. All right. So now it's giving us the unauthorized, right? Same thing we got before. So now what I'm going to do is replace it with our token. So it's a bear token. And I am going to specify the the actual API token that we have. Okay. I think this should work. If not, oh, there it is. So so we got all the data in CSV format, right? So now you can see that it worked like before. Let me just do it again for you can see it. Because I know it's kind of breaking off the screen. Okay, there it is. You can see it now. I'll just do it one more time just for giggles. So now you can see you're getting all the data again back from the API. So this is a great way in order to start leveraging the API to obtain the CDR records and to do some type of automatic type of integration where maybe at every night or something like that it pulls the CDRs, or once a week, once a month, whatever it is. You can use this API in order to do that type of automation. So thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit the subscribe button so you'll be notified about new videos that we have. And also, if this video provided you some value, please click the like button. All right, take care, and I'll talk to you soon.